are you?
Good. How's it going?
Okay.
The Wobot. That was fun.
Huh? Did you see that?
Yeah.
But you can make a number of them specialized, and you wanted to show you, you know. And did you see that they have some hospitals now with digital psychiatry?
It's such a liability.
But when you think about liability, when you don't treat that you don't have enough resources to treat anyone,
No, I mean,
it's not a substitute, you know, for human beings, but it's maybe
there's
there's certain parts.
there's also, like, in South Florida, not a lot of inpatient psychiatric units.
Well, you see them on the street. What are all those homeless, you know?
And we always, I mean, all the time.
We use jails now. Jails are our mental institutions. Okay.
We have to transfer out all the time to different facilities because we're full.
Yeah.
Kids will come in like Baker
Yeah.
acted already.
Right. So what do you do with them? And you know
We try to
when they're
replace-
Bakered Act, they should have been in much longer, right? It wasn't, you know, those are the emergencies of the emergencies. You know how many people die from there was no beds. Maybe a stop through, you know, I mean, of different types of things. Because I'm telling you, in that mental health. Did we put the,
Was it not on?
no, it wasn't on. So before you start, even make sure that this is on, you know?
Oh.
Eden, you want to do this one? This needs to be in the, I want to make sure. You want to just check here. Okay, that's it. Now you want to check and see. What's it say? What does it say? Okay, now we need to press start here. You see this? And what's it say over there now?
Says, recording 153.
Okay, so is it going down? Is there something happening?
Counting time.
Okay. So we want to make sure that, is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, welcome back, folks. How are we doing? I'm doing very well, thank you. Always, weekends are too short. I have all these things I need to do, and my weekends are very short. So, Amir, how are you doing?
So fortunate.
Okay, so we'll talk after the, okay? All right. Let me put some notes on the board. Can't believe it. We're still in 2017. So that's good. So it's Monday. Yeah, it's the 4th, right? December 4. Today we're going to talk about databases. We're going to talk about databases. We'll be talking about SQL. We'll be talking about something called NoSQL. We'll be talking about data warehouse. And we'll be also talking about data mining. We'll be talking about forecasting. We'll also be talking about back testing. And predictions. You have your assignments on Blackboard. Let me go to my PowerPoints for Wedger, and I have chapter 9. On Wednesday, we'll do December 6th. We'll do presentations. How many groups do we have? Did somebody help me out?
I'm looking.
Thank you. I need all the help I can get. Need a little help from my friends, okay? So what do we get? How many groups?
It's under.
6 groups, thank you very much.
No,
So-
7.
7?
Ray Lopez is in a group by himself.
Okay, but Ray's not gonna be presenting, okay. Maybe you will, we'll see, but okay, so let's even do with the 6. Hopefully we'll get Ray to do something. So 6, so let's say about plan for 8 minutes a presentation. Okay, and let me tell you what the presentation's gonna be. How are we in the same wavelength? Okay, so telepathy here. What I want you to present is what I think would probably be the best thing to do is create some kind of PowerPoint, I don't care what type of tools you use, to give an overall. Basically, the overall is what? What's the problem? How is the competition doing this problem? What's your solution? What's your business model? And you may want to even do this in terms of what's your business model, how are you going to continue? Some of you are going to say, even if you say, I have rich relatives, that will support me, after a while you want to just, they want to do something else with their resources, so we can do something like that. Business model. And then the next part is what's next. I call it what's next. And I mean by what's next is after we finish this, what are the next steps to do? So for instance, we need to do the back end, we're gonna get more end users, we'll be doing that. And then also talk about the limitations. Okay? Give an overview on that, and along with this, you can move into seeing your website, seeing if you've done the apps, whatever you've been doing, you can compare with those. You understand? So you can, rather than just going straight, as we were just doing now, I was just going straight to your website, seeing what was done, I'll be doing it. What I'd like to be doing is I'll be taking notes on each of yours, and I'll be giving you feedback. So basically, what I'll do is I'll either write it on the board or something like that of your feedback, and then you can take a picture of it and take it back with you, where I'll give you feedback on what's missing in your projects. Next week, we'll do a review for the exam. We have the exam the following Wednesday, so there won't be any surprises.
No,
What?
it's the 13th now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Not this Sunday, next Sunday.
Right, I'm just telling you
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
coming up. And then the following week, I'll be doing it kind of like, we'll be doing it like lab week. I'll be there helping groups finishing up your projects. So I'm a member of each of your groups, so if there's things that we need to do, I'll be here, bright and ready for my participation in each group. It's due, the project is due on the 20th. But at least we'll have feedback rather than waiting to the end and say, oh, I wish we were supposed to do that, or we just didn't have time. This way it also sets us up that we can make our timeline. Also, you can think about it in the way which I'll be doing with you as well, is you need to be making notes of what you've done for the project, and I'll be talking about it next time. You'll be reviewing each other. You'll be doing a peer review of each person in your groups. Even there's some groups, you know how it is, where everybody's participated equally and done a good job, and there's some groups that some people we don't see them too often. Yes.
So if all that stuff is for the PowerPoint or like presentation, then is the paper just a summary?
Well, I don't know. I'll see about the paper thing. This may be.
Can we just print out PowerPoint?
Yeah, we may do something like that, and we may be able to do some of these things. You know what I'm thinking about, and I'll give you feedback on. Part of it may be like for your apps and so forth, you may want to record it and put that as a, you know what, like screencasting, part of your putting that together. So let's see, huh?
So we don't have to do paper.
Right, so we'll talk about it. Okay, some of it depends also on what projects you have. You know, what fits. I just don't want to have busy work for busy work. You know how you say, I gotta write a 5-page paper and I can put in any BS that I have on the, you know, the paper. You've never been faced with anything like that, but I have in the past, you know? So the thing is, I'd like to have it that it's effective. That it's short and sweet, but it's effective, and there's depth to it, and there's the next step. Because none of this is finished, right? And what teams do I need in terms of limitation? Where do we go from here? Now I got to get a team of programmers. Now I have to get a back end. Now I have to get present somebody to do. I need to get a pathologist in my group. I need to get some other. I need a nutritionist or whatever. What else? Any other questions? Because I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. But everybody understand, and I'll give you feedback. But let's set up like 7 minutes, you know, because I'll give you feedback as well. So let's set up as a 7-minute presentation so we can finish each of the groups. They can get it, and I'll be giving you feedback as we go through. Yes? No? Perfect.
So when's the presentations?
This Wednesday, right? This Wednesday's the presentations, because next week I want to do an exam and I want to do a review. Okay? So, in chapter 9, they talk about databases. And basically what we've seen in anything is we are inundated with data. The whole idea is sometimes we need to get our data, like we saw from our last presentation with someone trying to do neural nets, and their problem was trying to forecast breast cancer, whether a tumor is malignant or not, and their problem was to get enough data. But many times and we talked about interoperability problems, issues, that we can't get it from one department to another, we can't get it from one hospital to another, we can't get it from one country to another, so there are problems with data, but many times what we think about is we have to manage that data. And how are we going to manage that data? What are the concepts of, once we have that data, how do we make sense? How do we get managerial decision support? How do we start using mobile technology? And they talk about, in the book, something about technology goes through a cycle from the Gartner Group, stating that they're early adopters, medium adopters, and late adopters. The problem with early adopters is what? The technology. What's the problem? Early adopters of technology. What's the issue?
The cost, is that?
Cost, one. What else?
Might not be ready yet.
Might not be ready, right? That there's still bugs in it. Have you ever seen that you start using it, no software is complete, and what is my major issue is I know I always have issues with technology. The question is how am I going to resolve those issues in technology? Who am I going to go to? Where am I going to kind of isolate it? What are my backup solutions? You can see here, even in terms of broadcasting, I know I always have issues. I have issues with the mic, right? We have issues of presenting. We have different, did you see many times what we have to do? We have to waste our time because just like we have one operating system versus the other. So which technology to survive? So many times what you have to worry, and sometimes you even have to do it, we always know that we're behind the curve. We always know what technology will be, less expensive than more expensive, right, the new versions. It will be miniaturized, it will be faster, it will be more. But what is it that I have, what they call legacy systems? Did anybody ever hear about this? Legacy systems. Who's heard it? What does it sound like? Old, right? So why in, let's say, healthcare, do I have to worry about legacy systems?
Because
People are old.
Yes.
People age. What else? What else ages?
technology.
Technology. And basically, you think a lot of these hospitals have the latest technologies on their EHR. You think about it. What do you think?
No.
In some areas they do, and in some areas they don't. Many times on the back end, right, in terms of my EHRs and areas like that, it may be the old end. The other problems is many times I have to adapt that I have my data, my legacy systems and my old systems, and I need to be able to communicate with these legacy systems. So those are areas in which I need to deal with. And this Gartner hype cycle is basically what the Gartner this is used in the past. Anybody that's dealt with IT, there's a company called Gartner Group. They're a research and development group where they evaluate what are the trends for technology. They have a number of conferences based on a number of industries, and CEOs, CIOs go to these conferences, and basically they say there's technology here where it becomes basically startup companies are in this end, and after a while it enters a plateau. So many times people don't want to be bleeding edge, but they don't want to be too long in a technology where it's not effective anymore. Okay? So Database management and access. So I know I have to, so what's a database? A database is a way to organize my data that someone can retrieve that data in an orderly fashion. They can make what we call queries, Q-U-E-R-I-E-S, or a query, Q-U-E-R-Y. A query that I ask a question. Some queries are pre-designed. So for instance, give me all those patients that are diabetic between age 40 to 60 and are Hispanic and female and have been effective in this medication. Or give me all those patients that have a brain tumor that also took this drug. And see, is there any types? So it's queries that you ask. Many times the problem is, sometimes it's easy to know what queries I'm going to do in advance, and sometimes it's difficult. So the way I design my data is going to be important. So for instance, let's even think about this class. If somebody's coming to me and they say, you know, Dr. Rushinik, I want to have then someone who gives scholarships to someone who's female, Hispanic, on the tennis team, and has a grade point average of 3.6 and above. Right? There has to be data that I'm doing. Some of it, what did we say about the rights of the user? I don't have access to that. But maybe someone in this institution has access to retrieve that data. So we have different types of data models. We have ways in which to gather that data. And what's important now is traditionally those databases were what we call two ways. They were on older machines, legacy machines, and it wasn't easily available to the end user. It wasn't what we call ubiquitous. But what has happened is we have the web, we have mobile devices, that we have a number of databases that those database management systems have to change because I have it now on the web. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about where to put those data, what we call data repositories, and how we store our data. Just like you think about machines have warehouses, you know, if you go to the warehouse district, you're having warehouses of data. You're having what we call data marts, just like supermarts or mini marts. You have data marts that I'm storing then data based on a certain hypothesis. And then I'm able to find insights to my data, and that's called data mining. So, this right here is a traditional, what we call flat file structure. You know it from something like Excel, right? What do you know in Excel? Excel has a sheet, right, JP? And what does it have? It has columns, and what else? And it has rows. No big shakes, right, JP? So when I think about it, one row in a database, in those traditional flat file structure, is called a record. Just giving you those terminology, that's what it's usually called in traditional file format. One row is called a record. So I could think about it. This is patient registration. Each of these rows were different patients. And you can see here that as patient name, date of birth, physician, clinic, admission date, next of kin, and so forth. So it has my admission data. It's set up with what they call a flat file. Why is it a flat file? Because you can think about it, it's like one-dimensional here. What traditionally has been in database management system is they call think about it as almost one sheet, you can think about it, is another word for that sheet that is a table. Everybody with me? A sheet, think about it as a table in what we call a relational database structure. That has traditionally been a simple way to query my data. So here I have a patient table, I have a physician table, and I have a clinic table. And why do they call it relationship? In the way, if I'm a physician, do I have one patient or many patients? Usually, many patients, right? If I'm a patient, do I have one physician or many physicians? Everybody hear my question? Many times sometimes I can have so many times what they'll see here, you see this word here, it says many to many relationship. It means I can have a physician to my patients, patients to my physician, and you can see it goes both ways, in my physician database and in my clinic. This is called a relation database structure. This is simplified because later on, and what do you want to make sure to be able to see? I can see a certain physician, all his or her patients, right? And this patient, I can see all of his or her physicians, and I can see what clinics they belong to. If I don't set that up right, it requires a lot more work for me. And this is what you need to put in your notes. The most standardized language in database is called structured query language. Many times they don't even use that word structured query language. What do we always learn here? There's some kind of acronym. And this acronym is called what? SQL. You'll hear it. This is not new. This was even way before you were born. In the 70s, in the late 60s, they came up with this in IBM, this language. And it's basically a querying language to get information. And if you look at, this is what the language looks like. So what does this say? Who can read this? What does it say?
Under selecting the patients from the table of patients.
So it says select patient, physician from the patient's table. All of these are basically tables, right? Where the physician is equal to Ethel Mace. A query that's done. Many times, the way that these softwares developed is they have front ends to it, but you don't have to know the query language in itself. But this is what that SQL looks like. And based on this SQL, we have something called a schema. You can put that in your notes. We have something called a schema, and the schema is the actual structure of the database. So this describes what my database will look like. The schema doesn't have data in it, it just has the description. And the data dictionary is a repository of the information about my data. So the structure may be, the schema may be where we're talking about it, that I have one table with patient name, patient ID, patient address, next of kin. That's my schema. And my data dictionary will tell me what is it about that data. Have you ever seen it where people, when you have a long name and sometimes the database chops it off? Why is that? Because the data dictionary didn't give it enough characters. The data dictionary, And many times the data dictionary will tell me what type of, am I going to do arithmetic operations? So for my billing, is it going to be numeric? And then my metadata is equivalent to my data dictionary. My metadata tells me, basically in more generic terms, what my data's like. So, anybody remember Edward Snowden? Anybody hear that name before?
Yeah,
What do you remember
he
about?
hacked and he exposed that the government was spying on him.
Right. Basically, what he was saying is that the U.S. government was asking AT&T, a number of providers of data, of telephones, services, to give them information about who's talking to whom. And supposedly the idea was, let's go find terrorists, right? And people got freaked out because they didn't know that basically they said that the TV, through the TV, they said, Snowden, you know what? That they're listening in on our conversations. And the government came back and their conclusion is, we're not listening in your conversation, we're just gathering metadata. And I started laughing. Everybody else they had no clue what they were talking about. But what does that mean? They're talking about the structure, that if it's here, I'm from the U.S. and I speak to someone else overseas, and they have these types of characteristics, then they say, only then can we, with a warrant and so forth going to the courts, can we listen to it, or whatever. But that was dealing with metadata, and you can think about it. Metadata is also used for search engine optimization. So on the website, you remember how I said everything on the website has that HTML code? Part of that HTML code is, remember I talked about tags, and you can do like what they call meta tags, and you can say, hey, I want to have certain criteria when people are searching for this hospital that is a pediatrics, that has customized care, that is in Coral Gables, and on and on and on. That's all my metadata. Everybody with me? So they have here a number of these data dictionaries. You can read this on your own, but just to know here that my column headings, they make all these fancy words. My column headings, a relational database, is called an attribute. Everybody understand that? That's called an attribute. You know it as the column heading. But all we're thinking about is in relationship data, it's called an attribute. And what they're being able to do, notice attributes or field names, we then have in a way in defining it is called the data element. Each of those is called a data element within my database. And as I talked about before, for my data dictionary, if I don't give enough for my medical record number and I give too few digits, I will have a problem. So my fields have to be explained, and I need to decide the relationships among my fields. Now, this they talk about databases on the web, and what I want to show you here is, you got a lot of words in these books, and then let me show you what I need. So if I go to web links, go to your web links, and go to the very end. By the way, did people read that chatbot therapy that I sent you? What'd you think?
Crazy.
Huh? Kind of interesting, isn't it?
You
What
have
I
a lot of security issues.
Right, you have a lot of security. What I was thinking, I liked it. The Woebot will see you now, the rise of the chatbot therapy. But it's the idea that what people are going to do in data is, I think you need to combine data with humans and see what works. For instance, there's a hotline now that it's like a peer-to-peer that you can text your problems. Anybody see that? There's a group now that you can basically talk to people with texting your problems. And what they found out with all their data is what they didn't want is for people to commit suicide. And you know, that's, I think about the data, that's what Facebook is now facing, right? Facebook Live, what are people doing? These kids, you know, teenagers, going to commit suicide on Facebook Live. Can you imagine?
I think I know this.
What?
Yeah, I've seen,
You've seen some?
I know.
I will watch it, but.
not people that I know, but I've seen.
But it's a type of thing, and then they're saying, hey, with all these intelligent bots, aren't you able, Facebook, to give warnings? And so even this company that started off giving it free, that you can text your problems, and what they found out is certain wording helps them then escalate the problems. And there have been situations where somebody's been, you know, a young teenager's been at her desk, and they basically start texting, and as they're texting, the words are getting much more severe, already starting to call for help. And this one mother said, thank goodness that you helped her, because she was in the living room and she had no idea what her daughter was doing. She was ready, you know, to commit suicide. So, and they can even predict what days of the week people are more apt to do that, what types of symptoms will give that. So I'm purporting that necessarily, this was kind of an interesting article, necessarily we got to figure out ways in which that data mining and those bots can help us deal with all our issues here and our problems, and find it effectively, and then deal with things with just being silly, you know, kind of things, or what type, there may be certain personalities feel more comfortable than others. You know, there's certain people, I'm always saying in the counseling center, you know, they have limited resources here, and some people may not even be comfortable going physically to a counseling center. You know, I'm embarrassed, I don't feel well, or whatever, I'm so stressed out. There may be other ways to do it, the telemedicine, so forth. So they're kind of doing these life coaching apps, and, you know, maybe some of this can help along the way. So I just wanted to show you that you can see that people are doing it. But what was interesting to me, that they had the co-director, did you see this? John Torres, co-director of digital psychiatry program in Boston at a medical center. So they're trying to figure out ways to personalize mental health on demand as needed. You know, so if you're clever enough and can try, you know, this is in such beginning rudimentary stage, but if you can find ways for treatment, to me it's a life-saving instrument. But the next one says what? SQL versus no SQL.
What's the difference?
That's what we're going to discuss. We rehearsed it. SQL versus no SQL. So, we have something called, put this in your notes, you have something called SQL, and you have something called MySQL, and go ahead and Google MySQL. So if we Google and we just say MySQL,
Combination of
Are open source relational database management?
Look at it. We're almost like understanding it. Isn't that scary? So anyways, so you see here, MySQL is the most comprehensive advanced features, right? Highest level of scalability. What does scalability mean? Open source. What is open source? Even let's start here. Anyone is user. How much does it usually cost? Free. The source code you can get so a number of people around the world can deal with it. Relational means what? That it's tables that relate to it in the name of combination. My was the co-founder's daughter. We don't need to know this, but this is free. And basically, this is used for the back end for a number of mobile apps. Anybody here of Facebook? Anybody here of Google? They use MySQL. In the Amazon, right? Anytime you have the databases, the books you buy, right? Your history of what you bought in those last years, it's done on tables, right? I got my user table, the books that I bought, the things that I have, my billing, right? All of these tables are related. So you don't think, how do you think Amazon figures out what to recommend for you?
Wait, so what was the difference between MySQL and Azure?
What?
What's the difference between?
Open source.
So one of them
Oh, this one's
stores and manipulates data,
Which one?
SQL.
SQL is the structured query language. Okay, by itself, SQL is a structured query language that many companies have that incorporated SQL in their product. So if you go to Microsoft, you can buy an SQL software package with their database. Sometimes they call it SQL Server. That's Microsoft. Anybody ever hear of Oracle? Oracle is a database company that they have on their back end. Is they have their way to gather data is using SQL. And then, especially for the web, open source, there's another company and they called it MySQL. That's a separate company, that's a separate software. So if you say to somebody, I need now a back end of all my end users on my website and on my mobile app, one of the ways that you'll look for a programmer, you say, what are you going to use for the database? And they'll say, oh, I am going to use MySQL. They're going to use it. Why? How much does it cost? Free. You can get a lot of programmers in it. It's a standard because they use that standard language.
So this company created it?
What?
So MySQL is a company.
Well, MySQL is basically a management system that is open source, that it was developed by, and in this case, it was developed by people in Oracle.
How do they make money if it's free?
Great idea. What happens is, some things that are free is you still need support. You need add-ins. You know how to, if you're a company, you say, I don't know everything there is. There's support companies, and we'll do it for you. We'll help you. So for instance, if you know Amazon, we talked about it, has what we call AWS. What's AWS? Amazon Web Services. And Amazon Web Services says, if you want MySQL, you can have it on our servers. And guess what? Then Amazon will charge you for helping you use those services, or other outside companies that will use AWS. Remember we saw Modernizing Medicine. Where's their software stored?
On the cloud?
On the cloud. And what do you think they need a database?
Yeah.
Of course. And one of their databases they could use, for instance, MySQL. Their programmers would use it. I just want you to get a feel for the reasoning. So when they think about web application, MySQL became very popular, a version of SQL, when we started using mobile devices, when we started using the internet, when we started using web browsers to get my data. But it's still in the basis of using that, MySQL. And the key here in MySQL is it's open source, and there's a combination then, the abbreviation here, it's available under the terms, and there are other companies that make money by giving extra support. It was written, you can see here, it was written in a programming language, but people using this MySQL don't need to know that programming language. They'll be using differences here, like we talked about select patient, where patient is equal to whatever. And then there'll be a front end somebody will develop where you don't even need to know that. All I say is I'm able to say, give me all my customers or give me all my patients with these types of characteristics. And give me a report. Or give me all my patients that are 90 days overdue. Okay? So I wanted you to see it. And the other part, just so you know that wasn't part of it, that you can read it into this link, that is exactly what I've talked about before, is that experts are saying that the world's data is doubling every 2 years. And they're saying there's something called big data. Big data basically has been around lately because I told you the whole idea of big data is that I can use these cloud-based systems. I don't need to even use it on my machine. If my machine doesn't have enough resources, I basically rent out those resources. And what it's focused in addressing that volume and variety and veracity. What do we mean by veracity? What's the term for veracity? What does that mean, veracity? What's veracity mean?
Conformity to facts.
Okay, basically that I can rely on it. And look at what it says, veracity of structured and unstructured data. And relationship data and SQL have been good for structured data, that I know predefine what my database is like. And you can see here my SQL now powers on very large websites, Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. My SQL turns out to be the most popular database, and it remains so because it's open source. So, once this is so big, there's now a new buzzword called NoSQL. So instead of structured, what do you think NoSQL means?
Not structured.
You got it. Oh, baby, you got it. So there's a song like that in there. So it's what is NoSQL, you might wonder then, is different from mine because it doesn't involve SQL. This is I can define my data on the fly. This means that I don't have to predefine what I have. So when they talk about NoSQL, these are the difference between SQL versus NoSQL. So when you're asking, SQL is just the structured language. How much does that cost? It is just, it's nothing. It's zero, it's free. But it's just the structured language you're going to use. And the most popular ones are Oracle, but this is the most popular, MySQL. And it's done a lot anytime on the web, and this is anytime you're going to be using the database, most likely you're going to look for a MySQL program. Yes.
I'm confused. So I thought SQL is like a coding or computer language. So is Oracle also a?
Oh, good. Oracle's the package, the software package. You buy an Oracle. Let's say you get a job at Carnival Cruise Line.
Mm-hmm.
Carnival Cruise Line, or you get a job in Miami Children's Hospital, or you get a job in Baptist Hospital. They're going to have a database management system that they buy. The language that database management system uses is SQL. The language it uses, but they need to have something that's around it that for the end user, they're just not going to start coding. It's going to be easier for them to set up. And they'll ask, okay, where's my table? It'll even give them like step-by-step instructions on what to do. And it gives those resources. It helps you get things up and running. And it'll give you all those resources, and you pay for that, and just the language within it is going to be SQL. But they're going to give you all the bells and whistles, and they may even have a specialized Oracle database for hospitals. So they may have already a lot of the data pre-populated, the structure already pre-populated for you, so you don't have to start from scratch.
So it's like almost like Python?
Well, Python's a language. SQL is kind of like Python. But SQL is very specific. All SQL is going to do is query a database.
Oh.
Python, you can write an entire program. You're not going to write an entire program, but what you're gonna do is that structured query language is you're gonna do database work with MySQL, and MySQL uses that relational database language. But it's a language just for relational databases. So it can query, I want this table, my patient table, with my physician table. And find me all those patients that belong to that physician. Versus a Python or something, you can write any program with that. It's kind of like loose. This is very specific. Does that answer your question? So these are the most popular, and now they have something called non-relational databases. This is just so you know, this is coming up. And non-relational is, the key differences here is that you don't have to have tables. It's easier to manage, higher flexibility. It's all almost open source. And it's used a lot for big data applications. So, what are big data applications? One has a lot of data in it if you wanted to upload or download. What takes you a long time to upload or download?
Streaming video.
Streaming videos. Streaming videos doesn't work well in an SQL environment. So in the videos, when they're so large and differences, then they're trying, and notice, you can see here that NoSQL on the market today, and you can see these are names, doesn't matter, but Mongo is very popular. You can see Amazon, look at Amazon, because they have web services. You can think about it. They have something called a Dynamo, allows for rapid processing of real-time big data applications. So I've got huge amounts of video, and I want to find, for security purposes, I want to find that person that looks a certain way, facial recognition. Where are you going to find that? And put names to it.
But if they don't use tables, what do they use?
In other words, they use relationships. So what they use is they use some kind of mapping techniques. Excellent questions. So what they do is they're mapping techniques, and what my data does is it deals with what we call elasticity. What does elasticity mean? It's like in Christmas when I wear those my pants, right, that are elastic, right?
It's like responsiveness.
It basically, elasticity, scalability is its design when I have then large amounts of data and it shrinks and I don't know in advance how much it is. That's how they're using it. You don't need to know the details, but I want you to understand that this is where they're going in terms of big data applications. For your types of applications, what you're wanting to do for your app or for your website, and I want to have a back end, they always say I want to have a back end database, is because the end user doesn't see it. But you know you have to have it. I have to keep track of all my customers. I have to keep track of all my patients. How much they're paying me, what's happening. That is using a database, and that's usually, I know it predefined. But this is kind of going in the future. What's the problem with this? It's very new. What else is a problem with it? There aren't as many standards on it. But I just wanted to show you that they'll talk about it. When they say community not well defined, they're telling the same thing. And they say MySQL is hard to beat for its vast network of highly experienced end users. So basically I can find programmers easily throughout the world. Outsource. I'm looking for, a programmer in MySQL. NoSQL is going to be much more difficult than it's used if I have huge amounts of data. And especially startups, they don't need any huge amount, or if I'm in an area where I don't. So notice here, you see this little thing here of Amazon Web Services. You see that? So basically, when you trust your data, you can go in. So if I just typed Amazon, you do it too. Type in Amazon Web Services. You've always been to Amazon to order something, right? But you didn't know that if I look at Amazon Web Services, notice Microsoft tries to bring an ad here, because they say if I'm gonna bring this, the biggest one, maybe I can put myself in here. But Amazon Web Services, I'm gonna show you that you know what's happening. Look what they do for the first page. What are they saying?
Machine learning.
Machine learning on AWS, right? Next, compute, right? Elastic. What is he talking about? I'm getting bigger and bigger data, right? Alexa for business. Anybody know Alexa, right?
Yep.
Use it for business now with all those databases. What do you think now? They're even trying in the home then. Build AR and VR applications and so forth. So if you look at their products, these are all Amazon's products to sell what they call Amazon Web Services. This is what makes, if you looked at Amazon stock lately, besides doing well on their electronic commerce side, this is where they're making their money. This is where they're making the profits. On this side of saying, hey, guess what? Bradley, you don't know about it, you don't have to worry about it, you're going to do a startup, we'll take care of it. When you grow, you can grow with us in the hardware, you can grow with us in the software, you can get even your programmers, they can work anywhere in the world and they can get access, they don't have to go physically to your location, they can work in the cloud, meaning we have computers all over the world. And when it's down in one place, we have backup on another place. And we can make it HIPAA compliant. It's a health application, we know our auditors will make sure that it's HIPAA compliant. So these are, look at what they have here, it's incredible. But you see here they have developer tools for developers, they have analytics that I can kind of figure out what's happening. I have security, I have app streaming, IoT, right? So my Internet of Things, but look what they have down in the bottom here is databases. So you see here that they have databases. If I look at their products, I can see that they have databases on their products. So under databases, I click on this, and purpose-built databases for all your application needs. Notice what they said. Manage, what's this word here? What does that mean? Relational means what? SQL, it means what? Tables. That instead of storing it on premises, I have them deal with it. They deal with all with it. And then what else do they say? Non-relational, like that, no SQL. So if you want to do big data, and then they say we do data warehouse. So what a data warehouse is, it's a storage area for non-transactional data. What do I mean, non-transactional? That I can start manipulating it and it's not real time where my end users are dealing with it. So that means, for instance, I can do a data warehouse and I move it from my transactional storage facilities into a data warehouse, and in the data warehouse I can do studies to find out what are the insights to my data. And then they talk about in-memory data stores, that they have a lot of memory, and I can do even graphics. So you can just see. Remember I talked about MySQL? Guess what? Amazon has MySQL. Remember I talked about Oracle? Yes. You know? And these are just companies that use SQL in their product. And instead of storing it on your computer or on premises, guess where you're going to store it? In the cloud, and Amazon is going to take care of it. So Amazon used to take care of its own data. So they said, guess what? We'll make a business providing it to other people around the world. And they're the biggest in terms of database management systems.
So other companies go to them for cloud services.
And a number of companies. If I want hardware, they can take care of my hardware. I want software application, I'm going to do a database, they take it. So for instance, remember Modernizing Medicine, they use AWS. Any startup that you probably see in that healthcare environment, in most environments, healthcare environment, they say, do I need to install your software? What do they say? No, it's on the cloud. And when they have a cloud, you need a provider to provide it. What does it mean it's in the cloud? It's still on computers, But it's what, that you gain access to it via what, a browser. You ever use email?
Yeah.
That's a cloud service. You don't have that software, right, stored on your machine. You have it, basically it's stored in the cloud, and you gain access to it. When you have a browser, you gain access to that.
But not all email servers.
Well, they'll do some of it, they'll store some of it on your, some of your email
Yeah, like.
notes,
the-
you'll have it, you'll have it.
Business school, if you run out of space, you have to request additional space for emailing, right?
Well, you can do it, but where's that stored? That's stored, you request it, but where is it stored? It's stored in the cloud. You understand? It used to be the School of Business, for instance, used to have physical computers to handle their email. But now guess what?
Everything is in the cloud.
They said, what's the disadvantage to that? They had to hire a bunch of people to take care of it here. And who do you think's more qualified? The people that they hire here or the people on Amazon throughout the world that they can get? Usually probably the people on Amazon. They don't have to worry about this person left, this person didn't leave, this person is here, this person isn't there. Have to do the updates of the software. So Microsoft even said, you know what? We're going to offer a service of Office, where? Office in the cloud. So the latest version will do it. And why do companies like to do that? Because they have a subscription basis. So every month these companies buy it on a subscription basis. So they get income all the time. So I just wanted to show you that even those terms, that I wanted to bring it down to you. You can see here is that just even for the databases, it's so specialized that they say, we'll give you, if you need this, we'll give it to you. And consider using these types. You see where it says relational database? This is it. You see no SQL? I just wanted to see it. This is a data warehouse. Look at this. Fast, fully managed peta-scale data warehouse at 1/10 the cost of traditional solutions. I would have had to have huge mainframe. I would have had to have machines much larger than this size, right, to store my machines. And guess what happens in another 2 years? Those machines, you think they're current?
No, they need to be updated.
I basically have to junk those computers. They're not worth it. And what am I going to do with those computers? Do you think anybody wants? Have you ever seen those PCs? I mean, they're all going into those dumps. You know what I mean? And for the environment and everything, right? So it's those ways. So people are saying, these companies say it's not worth it. Let me just do it on the browser. The difference is I need internet access to it. But this is what you can see here. And the whole idea is it's going to reduce my costs. It's going to be elastic when I have my busy times. I can get larger memories, and if I have lower times, I can do that. So this is what I just wanted to show you here, is this when they say databases on the web here, for this slide, put in MySQL and NoSQL there. Because that's really where this slide is. This is even old stuff. You know, people aren't even using that so much. You know, that you're able to do. So you have the same thing as you have a data warehouse then is large databases that get data from other databases. The key here, it's non-transactional. It's designed for the organization, say, a data warehouse, this is where our data is if you want to do research studies. Because I don't want to use that data where I need to see the patient, that live data where I need to see the patient. And what is a data mart? A data mart is a specialized section in which I'm going to do a smaller data warehouse. So if I have a specialized study, they call that a data warehouse. Okay, and then what I'm going to use is once I have that large data, now I'm going to have tools to drill down, and I'm going to have tools to find me insights about the data that I wasn't aware of. And I have, in data mining, I have some, you can put this in your notes, I have something called supervised data mining and unsupervised. Supervised means I have a hypothesis, just like any scientific study, and I wanna find the results of that, and I know what my hypothesis is. Unsupervised, meaning, hey, I got these data, I don't know what correlations there are, I don't know what the causes. Find me insights about the data that I wasn't aware of. And that's where you hear about IBM Watson and all the other ones that they're trying to do. Some of it's supervised, some of it I have those huge amounts of data where I don't know what insights I wasn't even aware. There were some insights that I didn't know. Did you hear that? Anybody hear about hurt feelings? You know, my feelings were hurt. Somebody did a study just now, they just found out when they gave Tylenol to a group and just like a placebo to another, those that got the and either group didn't know, those that got Tylenol felt better. Their feelings were still hurt, but they didn't feel as bad as those that weren't. Funny, I guess you can't be popping. I'm so sensitive, I can pop in those Tylenols all the time. You know, my feelings get hurt so often. Okay, so that's it, and then they're talking about then those data communications, those types of networks. But this area I wanted to emphasize to you was about data. We know we got so much, and now with the big data, I'm going to be probably using those other types of NoSQL and others with video and so forth, and those with, I'm doing the back end, I'm gonna even people like small startups through, you know, Facebook and Twitter are using MySQL. Does that answer your question? Makes it clearer to what we're talking about. And please feel free to stay with me afterwards, and I'll try to clarify any more that I didn't explain as well. We have something to do for Wednesday, you understand, meet with your groups, and basically show me as much as you can, so then we can finish up, you know, understand? And then we'll go through it, so you at least know where we're going. And based on the groups, Carly, based on what groups they have, what we need, I'll give you what I think you need to add to it. Okay?
Can you make it online so we can all read it?
And then you can do it that, I want it succinct, you know, finding out. Perfect. So stay with me if you need it.
I'm probably gonna ask some questions once I didn't get through the entire journal.
So go back and I'll be always here, and then also after my next, you know, my next class at the end, you can come back at 6 and talk to me more.
Okay.
Okay, I want to help you as much as I can.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
As it should be, you know? So, no, I mean, it's a nice luxury, but it's not needed.
Yeah, true. I wanted to buy it, but then I
Okay.
was like, yeah, it's not needed that much.
What's going on?
I caught a cold, so
Okay.
like that's why I'm like keeping
Yeah,
the distance.
just keep your distance.
Yeah, it's
First of all, take care of yourself, because I can get in that. People are getting it now, and I don't want it.
it's just ridiculous.
Oh.
Like it starts in one day and it goes. Really
Okay,
fast.
so I want to have some time. Are you available on Wednesday after 6? You have something to do?
On Thursday? No, I'm available.
So get better here, and then on Wednesday at after 6, I'm going to sit down with you and
We go over stuff.
go over what I want you to do. Okay?
Do you want me to write?
Well, I'll tell you the types of activities I want, so it's structured, and then you'll have you'll have work to do, and then I'll give you a number of tasks to do, and then you can be doing it along the way.
And just so I know what will happen, this work will be based on your idea, that AI for the thing. Okay.
It'll be your work that you're doing, you know what I mean? It'll be your work study work, not your classwork, but working for me.
Sure.
Okay? But I wanted to make it clear, because that's how we have to do that, of setting that up. Okay? Perfect.
So at 6 o'clock on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesday we do that.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay. Get well.
Sure.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Okay. Stop broadcast. And can you be so kind, and check the, they doing okay?
Yeah. Bye, Dr. Ashman.
Bye. Take care, you guys. Keep up the good work. Okay. So what do we want to do? We want to see. Courses. Now I want to go to information security. I want to go to assignments. Course documents, soccer materials. Cyber text fundamentals. Incident response.
Good, how are you?
Get some water. I'm just gonna get some water and then.
This quiz is part of our grade, so,
I think she's just trying to keep us in check.
I really put it like two.
Yeah, so what I did, I just looked at the section 4 and section 5 knowledge checks. Cause I feel like she doesn't make her own stuff.
Nah, I mean, as you can see, it's directly from the website.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You can memorize it in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Do we have a legitimate quiz to that?
I don't know. Depends on what you define, like we're taking, where I don't think it counts for a grade.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's kind of cool outside.
It's cool enough.
Is it that cool though?
It's cool enough.
It
And
might
it's
be,
as cold
it's
as,
as good as it's gonna get.
it's cold as fuck in my office, alright?
Alright. I was about to say, no matter how cool it gets here, it's still pretty hot. Yeah.
There's
That's
sometimes where
not
it's just
hot,
nice to have a sweater.
So would you go with the S curve?
I just tried it.
It's curvier than me.
Nah, we don't mess with that.
I've actually tested it before.
Bruh, your hair doesn't like you like curvy? What you do? What's curvier than normal? Like, I know it's curvy.
That's what, as I am. It's fine.
He said that's curl, he tried.
Yeah.
I try, I do try.
Slight.
Because some of us have, some of us have some thick as, coarse as, real African hair. Good question.
This quiz, but yeah. but
The
it's-
jury out.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Nice.
Thanks for feeding me.
I know, I
Yeah, what?
She didn't even look at what I thought.
Wait, just-
What?
you
Oh,
said
really?
you said- I mean, you could have went in and actually ate.
Oh, they, I had to be taken out, they weren't open.
No, I didn't. You asked me the right question.
Oh, yeah, but cheese.
She didn't even want to hold it, I just handed it to her anyway.
I know
She
you
walked away, and she's like standing like 50 feet away, like, oh, you can just take it, it's behind your desk.
I'm not closing it. You just stuff on it.
Oh, yeah.
get to the end of section 4 and that's all we're knowledge check.
When you say you want us to do all of the labs, do you want us to like create the presentation like every other group did, or, yeah?
Each group will present, but yeah, just like you did. What was the purpose of this and going through stuff like that, yes. You got it? So for each one. And then, Toomey, you were saying that you wanted to do the, Linux ones, you're welcome to do those instead of the Windows. And we'll talk after the class. Okay, so today I want to do 2 parts. Today is Monday, December 4th. Unreal, huh?
All right.
December, where did the rest of the semester go? This Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a lab with you, so you need to bring your computers with you, and the lab that I'll do on Wednesday then will be another part of your projects. On today, what I'm going to be doing is going over the materials for the computer security fundamentals of the ISACA. So we'll go through incident. It's module 5. Which is incident response. And we talk about the difference between incident versus event. We talk about incident categories. And also what we call incident recovery. And and in our lab books, which ones do we have left? I think it was just a couple, aren't there? Which one did you leave off on? Which ones did 322, right? So we'll finish those off hopefully this week, also on Wednesday. And then I'll do a lab, and then I'll spend some time. Next week we have an exam on the 13th, and I'll spend then next Monday doing a review for the exam and going over also the open-ended questions. And then all the homeworks and projects will be due on the 20th of December. So I'll finish up with the projects on this Wednesday with you as well. Okay?
When you say the final project is due?
The 20th of December. Yeah, and that you can upload to
That's just every lab, right?
every lab, and I'll give you an additional labs on this Wednesday. Okay? So there'll be an additional lab for this Wednesday, what you have. Okay, so let's start on yes.
Toomey and I have a presentation
Okay. On what?
on hacking.
On hacking?
Yeah.
And how long?
It's on tools and, like, kind of social engineering, but we can do it next.
Well, let's do it on Wednesday.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So then you can tell me, at the end of the class, you can tell me what's it about, and I'll give you some input, and then we'll do it on Wednesday. How does that sound? Perfect. okay? So, they talk about representing damage to an organization or to a computer with this hierarchy. And in the hierarchy, basically you can see that on the bottom is starting with an event, and then you escalate from an incident to emergency to a disaster, each of them a level having higher impact or damage, and declaring basically a disaster requires you invoke what they call fallback plans, and a crisis is the most serious and implies that the major incident is basically spiraling out of control. And many times what is called a crisis is dependent on the organization. So this is what in security terms they call the hierarchy of damage. And the event versus incident basically is what? An event then, and you can think about it, NIST, which stands for what? Student of in the National Institute standards here, is that an event is any observable occurrence in a network. So that's called an event. It's almost like a transaction. But they call an incident, and when that needs to be reported, is any imminent threat or a violation to the security policies, acceptable use of the policies, the standards and practices. So the description here becomes, it could be human, it can be disruptive, it can be unauthorized, and in this case, event is any change or interruption, but it's not an incident. So I could have, for instance, a change could be an event. And an example then here is, you can think about this as intentional, many times multiple fail-on login attempts, denial of service, change to hardware or software without the owner's consent. And an event could be just my hard crash, a disk error, a user forgetting their password, calling up the help desk. It's basically an event. I forgot my password. Okay? So everybody understand then the difference between an incident and an event. And these incidents, they then divide up these incidents for cybersecurity in an adverse way, how it negatively then affects what? The CIA triangle, which is the confidentiality, the integrity, or the availability. So if it impacts any of those, these incidents may be unintentional, or it could be intentional, such as a hacker, and they divided it up in categories. Category 1 is unauthorized access. You get the individual gains, logical or the physical access without permission, and usually reporting time frame is within an hour. Category 2, something like denial of service. Within 2 hours, they say, prevents, impairs normal authorization. Category 3 is what they call malicious code, successful installation of malicious software, any of the viruses, and daily within an hour. And category 4 is improper usage, authentication, privacy on a weekly basis. Category 5, scams, probes, attempted access, trying to deal with it monthly. And category 6, investigation, unconfirmed incidents are potentially malicious or not anomalous. Okay? So these are, they can be serious or not in this case. Let me just go back, yes.
Can you repeat Cat 6 again?
Pardon?
Can you
Oh,
repeat
the 6?
Yes.
And 6 then is investigation. Unconfirmed incidences that are potentially malicious. And these are part of the investigations. And then with that incidents categories, there's how are you going to respond. So the way that you respond, you can think about it as some type of formal program for your response. So the way that they want you to respond is for the preparations that you need to do, detection and analysis, capabilities to identify, containment. So once we detect it, we have to contain it, we have to eradicate it, we have to recover, and post-incident activity. You got to determine then the corrective actions to prevent similar ones, and what are the responses, how are you going to establish, you need to establish a policy, you need to establish an approach, you need to establish a communication plan with the stakeholders, you have to develop a criteria, develop a process to activate, establish a secure location to execute, and ensure equipment needed is available. So think about it when there's an incident, say, hey, what do we do? You get a plan. Basically, my plan here is how are you going to handle the incidents? What kind of policies are you going to do? And that's the response plan. And then it evolves then the incident then is who is going to be designed here to be the owner. Who is going to own this? Who is going to verify the report? How do you establish a chain of custody? What do we mean by chain of custody?
So
Tell me.
for example, if there's evidence involved, and it has to be passed along from one person to the next.
And that I just start blaming Toomey, right? That you must have, it was in your hands, right? Right. Determine the severity. All of this needs to be documented in order to have the plans here. What are the elements then? After the incident has been identified and confirmed, then it needs to be activated incident management response team, obtain agreements, get an IT representative, virtual team members, obtain and preserve evidence. This is the key here in case we need for court purposes many times. Document actions, control, and manage communication to the public. You see that this is called then the response team, and what are the elements then here is you have to remove once you've determined it, then you have to remove the root cause, improve, and perform vulnerability analysis. So you can see here there are a number of steps in order to do this, and there's something called, this is what you need to know, so put this in your notes. You have something called SDO, a service delivery objective. You have something called a business continuity plan. And then you have something called RTO, which is recovery time objectives. And what do you need this for? Jesse, why would you need this?
I mean, basically, if at any point you think that you're vulnerable, or like, if there's a likelihood of you being hacked and you want to have a way to like reset it.
It's basically, what's a business continuity plan mean? How am I going to continue my business if I have any type of disasters? Think about it, there should have been a business continuity plan. The university loses power for 4 weeks. There should be some type of continuity plan that the students can start still studying. Maybe there should have been something already, right, online, that we didn't have to have an extend what?
I mean, there is a continuity plan, but it doesn't take into account
anything?
Yeah, basically the continuity plans that exist are only for certain kinds of disaster or
And what-
level of disaster. Like they didn't deem the hurricane enough to basically enact the one where if Dooley was destroyed tomorrow, what do? They do have a plan for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And does anybody ever look at it and revisit it and say maybe this should be updated? And with technology here, that what we can do here, and many times, or some of the things even with FEMA, right? They were saying, go ahead, they're telling Puerto Rico, go fill it out online, right? You have all your forms, go put it online, right? And nobody said, what?
They can't even get on.
Oh, what do you mean online? They can't even get water. Talk about getting online, right? But I'm saying, well, that's their business continuity. Nobody ever thought of it. Nobody ever goes through those processes. We have no effect, just like, well, remember we looked at those policies where it was in UM and a lot of the computer policies, something's online, and when was the last updated, 2000, what did it say, 6, and then maybe something said 2012, and you could tell that what did they do? They just took a template from somewhere else and they say owner, it was blank, right? So all these plans are worth nothing after we got the disaster and we have to do the continuity. Or what they find out is even something like a 9/11. All of a sudden they realized that Citibank was in those towers and they really didn't have a backup. So what the government only after said, hey, you better have, common sense, you better have a backup other than in New York City, in Manhattan, where everybody knew that they were vulnerable, right? Citibank didn't even bother to put another spot where they can do their sources, and everybody's scrambling around in little hotel rooms. That's their business continuity plan. But they required them by law, yeah.
There's also a thing I know in the University of Miami's case where the only plan that they have if we were in a super high emergency, which would be if the campus was destroyed, is that we would go to Holiday Inn.
Which is destroyed now. It's not under construction, it's been destroyed, right? So that's how long, when you think of it, that's how long
I think it's only there for show.
well, the question is who's viewing it, of course, right? Holiday Inn, right? So it used to be, the university used to also have a little hotel, right? Not a hotel, but a little restaurant right next to the Holiday Inn. Probably says that too. Go eat over there, at the process. But it's almost like that technology. What are you going to do? In one of the Hurricane Andrew, they had their students from Tulane. You remember when it wasn't even after the Hurricane Andrew. There were other hurricanes, Katrina, where they had all those folks from Tulane. They had them stay here for a semester. And what's the problem with that? Doesn't that sound good? And University of Miami said, oh, we're just good neighbors. We'll take you. Well, guess what? Those students, they ended up, University of Miami basically were able to keep those. Once you're here for a semester, especially, when you're here in the winter, it looks pretty good. And you've already done a semester, you've seen you did, let's just stay here. So they got a lot of their students. So the idea, even think about your customers, right? If they go to someone else, right, somebody's going to outreach, you may lose them. It's almost like that idea, you want to help them. So this is the area where they're talking about all these, and that's what they kind of talk about. I have these, is the time up and recovery time objectives. Does anybody, we just put something in there. And how much time is it going to be taken that we're going to be putting something in so you can see that people are responding, but what's happening to these operations. So now, if you look at this, after some of these hurricanes, now people are realizing we didn't get hurt so much here, but in other places it was devastating. Think about Puerto Rico and think about Houston, even with all those floods where they had. Now they're hiring all these consultants coming in and saying, oh, maybe we should look at that business continuity plan, dust it off. It didn't work, and we can be out of business here where you can think about it. Not alone thinking about the dangers of people can get hurt. So they're writing all this, right? The lessons learned here. I'm going to write an incident report. I'm going to analyze those issues encountered, and I'm going to propose those improvements, and I'm going to present that report. But what am I going to do later on it? So they have something else, and put this in your notes here for another, you can have those acronyms for your test. So another one is called IDSS, which are those intrusion detection systems. So basically they want then those security tools that you're going to do vulnerability assessments. And along with the vulnerability assessments is that you want to analyze it where they have a solution to this problem. It's what they call security event management, SEM. So put those in your notes too. Emerging solution to set that problem. Yes?
This is just a condensed version of the CSX book, right?
Yeah, that's it. But you know, there was so much.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, so basically that you can think about it is go through then your notes on what the CMN then is, that it's going to then aggregate and correlate all your security event logs across multiple devices. Rule-based correlations, trying to look for patterns, algorithms to calculate the threat levels. Also, they calculate, but are they accurate? Nobody ever goes back and says, does it work? So those statistical correlations then to calculate all those IT assets. Okay? And then these are the key definitions you should know. You can put them in your notes then. BCP, Business Continuity Plan, how we're going to respond. Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT. Then it's going to be the group. Then Computer Security Incident Response Team here. And Disaster Recovery Plan. Here, not only are we talking about technical, but we're talking about physical. We're talking about an emergency, a disaster. One of the things, what do you want to do is basically hold it. And then you have service delivery objective. So you have a DRP, you have a MCP, and then you have a SDO, service delivery objective. And what are my, basically what are going to be my business needs if I go down? I want to keep in business, not out of business. So you need a plan in place, and once you have that plan in place, then you can proceed. And the third topic then there is the recovery. So after I have then those disasters, then is how do I continue my business? And how do I recover from my disaster? So you need clear sets of plans in order to do this. So basically in my business continuity plan, that's what you develop what they call a BIA, which is a business impact analysis. So what you have to do is identify your required resources. You have to choose a strategy to recover your critical facilities, develop that disaster recovery plan, develop the business continuity. You have to train, just like you would do in a fire drill, maintain, store, and then audit the plans. This is the key where nobody does. Who audits the plans? Who even checks to see? And let me just even ask you guys, like even in the health centers and so forth, after even something as simple as our last hurricane, did somebody go back and say, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? Yes, no? Huh? Did this institution, for instance, go back and say, what were the things that we did right? What were the things that we did wrong? How can we improve? What are the new plans?
They didn't help us out.
Did they even do, you know what I mean? We saw at least they were there, right? We used to see the pictures of the president and so forth. I think they did a good job in contacting students, you know, and getting students. They improved on those aspects. But what were how can they improve? And we weren't really a disaster. Really, when you think about it, it was basically just, you know, more trees and so forth. And then I think they just wanted to make sure that everybody would be safe to get them out of here. But how can you do better next time with reducing those stresses? And if it were a lot worse, if it really were a Hurricane 5, what are you gonna do? Okay? So let's take a quiz. So, how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do a group quiz.
Can we have one big group?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we'll try that out. You know, it's like the audit thing. You were always wanting to do that, didn't you? You always, it was his dream. You know, he had, other people have dreams what they're going to do in the future, right? Mark, you have dreams of just having one big group exam. The only problem is who's in your group. You know, I was.
Can I pick first?
Right, you'll be the first one. Okay, so you'll be we'll all be in one group. Okay, so let's do it. So let's do. He picks first. He thinks he's on a basketball team or something. He's gonna pick. Who do you want on your team, right? Okay, so you want to have 2 teams or 1 team? We'll do 2 teams. Okay. What? What?
Let's do a little competition.
Okay, so let's do. Tell me your competition. Okay, so you want to have 2 groups? 2 or we'll do 2 groups. Okay, we'll do the 2 groups. We'll have 1, 2, 3. One group. We'll do 2 groups. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll have from this side of the class to that side of the class, okay?
So we're taking the quiz as a group, meaning we answer the questions how?
We'll see how we answer, okay? We'll do it as together. What?
Are we in the game show?
Yeah, okay, we'll do a game show, okay? So how are we gonna do this? So we'll do a game show. Okay, so let's test what we already know about the incident response and recovery. We're gonna start the assessment, okay? So what group is going first? Okay, this group, besides you guys, we have lady here and a lady here. So we'll do in terms here, start assessment. Okay, so let's read it out loud. So this group read it out loud. So Eden, you want to read out the first one?
A major incident which has grown out of control and increased in severity is called,
Okay, so what do we got here? A major incident which has grown out of control and increased in severity is called an. Okay, so basically what I have from this group here, I have incident, event, crisis, and emergency. Incident I know is what? Then this incident is what? What is incident? It's what?
A violation of the policies.
Yeah, but what's it, right, and what's an event?
It's just a
It's
situation.
a situation, right? So I've eliminated those, I'm gonna help you group, right? Okay, so I've eliminated those 2, right? So, and we'll do one, and then, basically, so what do you guys decide together? Crisis? Okay. So we'll do, so we should keep score too, okay? So we got team, right? Team A and team B. There'll be prizes,
I
guys.
think so.
Okay, team A and team B.
Wait,
What?
Hang on, we might want to change it.
You wanna change it?
Maybe.
Okay, and then we have to have a clock down, right? 1, 2, 3,
Crisis.
crisis. Okay. So is that what we confirm? Okay, crisis, and we'll submit. Okay. So we don't know yet, but he put something. So jot it down. So they say for team, let me just go back. So what did they say? It was crisis?
Triangle?
Right, crisis. Okay. All right, team B. Okay. So Angela, we'll have you read it then.
What is a key difference between an incident and an event?
Okay. Okay, hold on. An incident and event mean the same thing?
No.
Okay, an event implies a violation or an imminent threat, an incident does not?
No.
An An incident implies a violation or imminent threat, an event does not?
Yes.
Okay, so is that what you want? Events negatively impact
No.
the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Incidents do not. It's basically reverse, right? So if I wanted even to say this one, this is basically reverse. So which one are we doing?
C.
C, okay. So we know then here. So make a note here, you guys, that you did C, okay? The second one. Okay, submit. All right, this side. Okay. So, let's read it. Which of the following is an example of a security incident? So we're talking about a security incident, we're not talking about an event, right? A, disk error. B, denial of service. C, system crash. D, user forgetting their password.
What?
Which of the following, guys? You got 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one? What are we saying? This is then security incident.
Can we steal?
What?
Can we steal?
Oh, you want to steal? Well, then they'll do it, and then you can come back and say you want something else. Okay, we'll do that. What if you disagree? Let them do the first one. If you disagree, you'll get more points. Okay, which one? Time's up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What?
You gotta get into a consensus.
You guys got to get it on the ball.
Denial.
Denial of service she wants. Okay. So basically, we got to think about. Okay, submit. All right. An individual. Then we're going to the other side. An individual gains logical or physical access
Any services, like any
without
company, no matter how secure they are, you
permission
can do it to them 'cause it's
to a network
hackable.
system, application,
It's
data, or
not
other
necessarily
resource.
breaking in.
This describes which incident category. Everybody hear what I'm saying? An individual. Everybody look at this, because if you don't agree with them, you can steal. An individual gains logical or physical access without permission to a network system, application, data, or other resource. This describes which incident category.
This is different. I think we need to switch,
Okay.
odds and even question.
Okay. All right. Which side is this? This is my left side, right? Angela's side. So Angela, everybody's going to come over to you. So what do you want to do? Category 1, unauthorized access. Okay. You guys want to do something else? Okay, submit. Huh? Okay. All right. This side. Eden. Fallback plans may be invoked in the event of an disaster, incident, crisis, and emergency. Fallback plans may be invoked.
Could it be invoked in more than one?
No, not this one. Later on.
All that close for the worst one, guys.
Fallback plans. Which one?
Crisis is the worst.
There we go.
Okay, you want to do crisis? You guys want to steal?
Do you agree, everyone?
Everyone
No one
agrees?
knows?
Crisis? Okay, fallback plans. You guys want anything else this side?
Honestly, disaster sounds.
I think disaster.
Okay, so what we have two. So let's say this one, then fallback. This is team A here. They said what? Crisis. And this side said disaster. That was the only one that we, different, okay? Submit. All right. This side, left side. Type B. Technical information security incidents may involve. You know, that's one thing why I want to review it with you, because sometimes you read these and then you read them some of you read them too quickly, right? Technical information security incidents may involve. We're talking about technical. Malware, system failure, or social engineering. A. B, system failure, social engineering, or viruses. C, viruses, denial of service, or system failure. And D, viruses, malware, or denial of service. So you have to decide the solution. Angela, what's your group say?
It's D, because.
Seven more.
Yeah, I guess
That's it.
I guess it's D.
Which one?
D.
D, okay, D.
Don't even claim
Okay, submit. All right, next, this side. The strategy used by an enterprise to respond to disruption of the critical business processes is called. The strategy used by an enterprise to respond to the disruption of the critical business process is called a business continuity plan, a computer emergency response team, a CERT, a service delivery objective, or a disaster response plan. So it says the strategy used. So what are we eliminating here?
ECD.
Right, so what are we choosing? A business continuity plan. So basically, it's not a strategy, this response team, I think, right? So that we can eliminate. Okay, next. You guys, incident response includes which of the following activities? So how do we respond to an incident? Preparation, everything has preparation, right? Like that, preparation H, right? Preparation, everything has preparation. Okay, the next thing is, one is analysis, one is detection, and one is alignment, and one is detection. So these two have detection, this one has analysis, and this one has alignment. This one has recovery and post-incident. This has analysis, alignment, and post-incident. So all three of these have post-incident at the end, and this one is the shortest. So I'd say the shortest is no good, right?
Right.
So get that out of the way immediately. Short is no good.
Yeah.
D, okay, because we're talking about recovery too. Okay, so we're gonna do D. Let's see. And you guys want anything else? All right, next, you guys. Then Team A, obtaining and preserving evidence. So we're gonna obtain and preserve that, right? You were telling me that. Documenting action and managing public communications are actions associated with. They're all incidents, so I can't choose from that, right? I can't help you that. It's either the response, how are they going to eradicate it, the preparation, or the containment. So which one do you guys want? You want containment, or do you want preparation, or do you want response? Obtaining and preserving.
Containment.
Containment. You guys want something else? Submit. Okay, next, Team B. Log data overload can be mitigated by employing a bunch of acronyms. Security event management.
It's the first one.
Security response plan, business continuity, computer security response teams. So which one? Which team am I on now? Okay, so which one?
The first one.
A. You guys want something different? Team A, Team B, I'm sorry.
Can we answer the same?
Right, you can answer the same. Okay, you get another question. Team A. Incident preparation includes all the following except. Incident preparation includes all the following except. So it's an except. Establish communication plan with stakeholders. Establish approach to handling incidents. Establishing chain of custody and develop incident reporting criteria.
C.
Which one? C, you guys all agree? Yes? Okay, so you guys want something different? Okay. So back to team B. Post-incident activities typically include which of the following? Post-incident activities, so it's after the fact. So select all that apply. So this is tricky, right? You have to do all that apply. So here I can choose more than one. So the post-incident typically include which of the following? Select all that apply. So do I write an incident report, declare normal operation, communicate my findings to the key stakeholders, and proposing improvements? Remember I was always saying, did they ever propose improvements? I always thought that, nobody ever does that. Nobody ever proposes improvements here. So which one?
1, 3, and 4.
Okay, so basically writing, you think?
What about declaring normal operation?
It's like an incident doesn't disrupt or normal operation.
Right.
Can you just need to redefine it?
Okay? This is what we're going to do it? So basically, think about post-incident, right? Declaring normal. Okay, so I'm going to submit. Okay, my team A. Assigning ownership, team A. Assigning ownership and establishing chain of custody. So I have to assign the ownership, I have to establish the chain of custody, are part of which incident response plan activity? Preparation, I'm dealing with team A, right? Identification, eradication, or containment. Okay, which one you want to do, guys? What do you want? B?
Identification.
Okay, you're doing B. Guys, you want to override them? My team B? I'm submitting. Okay. Other one, my business impact analysis provides the basis for which of the following? Select all that apply. You always get to select all that apply. Okay. So, impact analysis, select recovery point objectives, maximum tolerable outages, recovery time objective. These are all those objectives, it looks like. Service delivery objectives. What impact do they have? So which ones? It's more than one, I bet, because when they say select all that apply, right? They're not going to do one. Which ones?
2 and 3.
1, recovery points.
2,
2,
definitely. I'm not so sure.
service delivery objectives.
No, because service delivery objectives are like the targets for.
So what do you want to do with 4? You don't want 4?
Should we read it on line 4? I'm not saying.
Yeah, I didn't want words.
Okay, they don't want 4. Guys, team A, do you want 4?
I'm not sure about 1 either. What do you guys think?
You want 4?
I don't think we want 1 either.
We don't want 1.
You don't want 1 either. Okay, you don't want 1. You just want these 2, okay? All right. The most important objective of a business continuity plan. So my team A, the most important objective of a business continuity plan is, so I only can choose one because it's the most important, outlining a step-by-step explanation of the recovery plan, ensuring safety and security of human life, maintaining operations critical to the survival of the organization, and defining evacuation procedures. Which one? C? Maintaining operations critical to survival. Okay? Submit. The next one, the process of restoring data that has been lost accidentally deleted, corrupted, or made inaccessible for any reason is called backup, data recovery, incident recovery, business continuity, the process of restoring that data.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Right.
Data recovery.
Data recovery,
How many
okay.
questions is this?
3,000. No, we're near the end. The other side. In order for a business continuity plan to be effective, it must be tested regularly, my team A, be approved by senior management, be aligned with the strategy of the organization, be documented on paper. C. Okay? Next, my other team. The BIA, the business impact analysis, should consider which of the following critical resources. Select all that apply. You get all that apply. Which ones? 1, probability. 3, efficiency. Potential vulnerabilities.
Yeah, 4 for sure.
And human data and infrastructure resources. Team A, what do you think? Business impact. Human data and infrastructure. You want it, Team A? They're not taking it.
Wait, who said we're not?
I don't know. Are you? Huh? You want it or not? 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they want it. Okay, they want them all. Okay, greedy. Okay, Team A, in a disaster recovery plan, that's the DRP, the last known point of good data is identified as recovery point objective, data recovery, full backup, recovery time objective. In a disaster recovery plan, the last known point of the good data is designed as, and they're talking about here is the point. So what do you think? You got 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are you guys going to do? Huh? A, recovery point objective, submit. The amount of time, my team B, the amount of time allowed for the recovery of a business function or resource after a disaster recovery is called. So this is the amount of time allowed. Maximum tolerant objects, recovery point objective, service, or recovery time. So which one?
So, again, we'll go out on a limb here and say
B or D?
D.
D is done. Okay, submit. Okay. 85%. With a whole group.
50 of that came from us.
Okay. And 50 came from them or what? 50%?
No, they only got the other 35.
Okay, all right. So review your answers. Okay. So, the first one, crisis, where did we start? We started in this side? So you got that right. So count yourselves 1. We're going to keep score. So that's 1. So team A, 1. Team B, right? Next. Did we say that? What is the key difference? You got that right. An incident implies a violation, so we got that. Threat. Okay, the next one, denial of service. For example of, then, security incident. We got that. Next one, you got that right too. An individual gains logical or physical. So that's team B, right? Mm-hmm. Team A.
Ooh.
Wow. Ooh,
right.
team, what?
Yeah, we did.
Did you steal that one? I think you decided not to. No.
It's the only thing that's there.
Okay, so you get one more point. You got it. Okay, so why is that? Fallback plans may be involved in the event of the worst thing.
Because crises have contingency plans.
Right,
Disasters
and here,
are-
it's basically those fallback, it's the word. You remember we talked about that disaster is above a crisis. Okay.
What?
All right, next. You guys got, Team A got the viruses, malware, and denial of service. That was you? Oh, wow. Team B, right? Because why? Because the other one, social engineering isn't technical, right? And system failure, they're the denial of service. Okay, so you got that. The next one, business continuity, my Team A got it right. Incident response includes which of the following activities? So we knew that was preparation, detection, recovery. And then obtaining and preserving evidence, incident containment. So which team is this? A. Got it? Good. Security event, B. Got it. Establish a chain of custody, A. Got it. Right? Whoa!
I think that's 3 points right there.
Right. You're scoring too, Mark. Your dream of having a group exam plus your own scoring. Plus adding additional points always works. Okay, because again, we talked about declaring, you talked about it to me, right? Declaring normal operation we wouldn't be able to do. Okay, so you can see crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, crowds maybe work, I don't know. Assigning ownership, so A got it right of identification. So you got it. See? So in this case, I think we're tied, right?
No, we have seven.
No.
We have seven. We have seven.
Okay.
We're up 7-5.
Okay, so that's service delivery objectives. You remember all the objectives, basically. The key here, guys, when you're looking at this, is providing then that impact is dealing with all objectives and audience. Okay? The next here is the most important objective of a business continuity plan is.
Wow.
Is this a tech company?
The most important objective of a continuity plan is. So when you think of it,
That is lies.
Yeah, this is
Who
extremely false.
cares about that human life, right? Who cares about them? Put them away, throw them over the window.
Google's gonna save all of us.
This is America. We don't care about human life. We care about money.
This is the objective, right?
They got it wrong.
Maintaining operations critical to the survival of the organization. Who cares about our employees, right? Who cares about any of that? The main thing that one person can survive that organization. So ensuring that, so the most important, right, is that business continuity plan. And then think about if your organization goes out, right, then, and you're alive, you have no work. So basically, might as well, huh? Okay, next. The process of restoring data, so we got that, so Team B, you got that in data recovery, right? Next, be aligned with the strategy. Wow, okay, so when in doubt with checking, you're better off checking all of them, right? And then eliminating one. No, but it wasn't, right? Those other ones. The business impact, consider which of the following resources, probability of the occurrence of threats, human and data resources, efficiency and effectiveness of risk countermeasures, and potential vulnerabilities. In a disaster recovery plan, right, we got that. Recovery point objective. Recovery time objective, we got that. Okay.
We got the 10 points.
Okay.
Plus 10 points overall average.
Okay, plus 10. Okay, so I have to figure out prizes. Prizes for Wednesday I'll bring in for that we'll do. Okay, so you got the idea. So this is, I think, a little bit more fun than just doing it on your own, right? So we got, but you got the idea that we're supposed to be planned. The thing that's in reality is nobody ever checks those plans. And nobody ever does that last stage too of how can we improve for next time. And nobody, and in the tech companies, what about that human life? You know, that we're seeing those people drowning. Okay, so that's it. So Wednesday, I'll give another lab assignment to you. We have Toomey and Mark. We'll figure out what they're gonna present. Remember, it has to be human, we have to care about humans, right? And then we have another part of presentation, yes.
And the final project is group, right? You submit.
Yeah, right, and I'll give it to you on, more of the details on, when you work with the groups,
If your group has 2 people,
yes.
we're
You wanna go with more? You'll see what the end of it.
more labs?
Okay, right, we'll do more labs.
No.
What?
We only have 2 people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot
Join
of
us.
labs.
Well, how many labs do you have left?
I mean, all of them.
Oh, you only did yours?
I mean, yeah, because I was like.
Okay, so how many of you guys do you have, Angela?
We have 4.
You have 4, so maybe you can grab one of those guys.
I'm not trying to like steal nobody's people.
No, but I'm just saying, but in 4, what?
They can join us.
They can join us, okay, you got an invitation. Jesse?
I
So-
We'll put you too far ahead.
We all have to do it. I don't understand.
Okay, so folks, you can decide, Jesse, you can decide among your groups on how.
Yeah, as long as I don't want to take people.
Okay, but somebody invited you to join them, so, okay, all right?
Can we do the labs as like a team?
Can we just
Like
make one big group?
team?
No.
Team-
Okay, you know, did you hear my answer?
Can you?
No. Okay, let's take that offline
Can
of
we
my
have a prize
discussion.
for Wednesday that we get to submit together?
They're right. Let's do this. Let's finish up with, I want to do another lab on Wednesday with you to add to it. We'll do that. And then we'll also, you guys can stay with me and tell me what you want to do for your additional, they wanted to do an additional lab. And anyone else wanting to present additionally, you can let me know afterwards. Anything else we need to do? So I think we got a sense of this one, and then maybe I'll put up another quiz for the Osaka one. You know what I mean? That we don't have to go like through this on it, but giving you that you can do. And I think I put, if you go to the assignments, yeah, go to your assignment section, and I put those questions there. Everybody see that? I put that on the bottom here, the quiz incident response section. On assessments here. And you'll have that here. So you can have that. Okay? What else? We're set? So stay with me if you have extra questions. We'll do the lab then, an additional lab for Wednesday. And then on next week, I'll finish up answering any questions on those labs, and we'll do a review for the exam. And then we'll have some more, that last week then, we'll have time to do the additional lab work as well. Okay? So stay with me. If you have questions here on the information gathering.
Alright, yeah, that's a lot.
Wait, can you share the numbers? Well, actually,
Yeah, it's in the
Okay?
see you Wednesday.
You're welcome. Yeah.
What's supposed to present today? 3.2 on
3.2?
on password.
Oh, 3.8, did you get it to work?
I mean 3.2. Yeah, 3.2
2 0.
2.0. Yeah, that's what I
You
meant.
said 2, okay.
I said 3.2.
Yes, 3.20.
Oh, 0 is important. Okay.
20 versus 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so did you get it to work?
Yeah, it was just the pain. It's just the book's really outdated.
Yeah, that's
So-
why the lab. If the
Yeah,
book weren't
apps
outdated,
The apps
it-
that it like says to use, they're for like Windows Vista. And I'm just like,
I know, so that's why, if it were so simple, that's why I want you to update it, right? That's the only- So did you update it?
no, yeah, I use a completely different software.
Yeah, right,
and
good,
do
so we'll
completely
do it for
different-
Wednesday.
Okay. And also, what's the final project? What's the
Well,
consist of?
it's